So let's have a look at how these five elements actually came into being, and this is what's quite fascinating about how the Chinese understood something quite profound from such a long time ago, and it's the same kind of things that we're discovering now in Western science. So the Taoist philosophy, Taoism, is it's considered to be a religion, but it's mainly a philosophy, a way of understanding the world, was a way of understanding the origin of the five elements. What the Chinese understood, or what they came to recognize, is that prior to the existence of form, i.e., we are form, and a tree is form, and the planet is form, so any matter, prior to this, that the universe consisted of, and still consists of, energy. And it is the different movements of energy that produce the form. So when they look in a linear way back to time long gone away, they think about a moment in time where there was nothing. So there was just energy moving in different patterns. And it was only at a certain point in history that suddenly this movement of energy started to produce life. And this is where we start to see the beginning of the five elements. So they talk about the Tao as being something that cannot be spoken of because it's prior to form, and thoughts and ideas and understanding is a kind of form. So this is a profoundly spiritual notion, that there was this experience that the universe had prior to actually manifesting or creating something. And this is what was known as Taoism, that everything came from something, and this something is something that we can't actually comprehend. So that all seems very complicated. It really is just helping us understand the kind of the understanding that there is a cause and effect. And in this situation, the cause was nothing, which gave rise to something. So from this nothing came something, and the first level of something is what we call Yin-Yang. So you're probably familiar with the symbol, which has these two colors, the black and the white, and one has a black dot in, one has a white. And what we're saying is that this one thing split into two and became two. And this is where we now see that we live in this world of opposites. So right now it's daytime, it's light, and then tonight it will be nighttime and it will be dark. And you see there are two sides to everything. There's male and there's female, there's black and there's white, there's every kind of shallow and deep. Anything you look at will have an opposite. Anything that doesn't have an opposite then relates back to the Tao. So we know that everything we experience has these two sides. And it is these two sides that are seemingly opposite but seek to come back together. So for example, if we just look at the concept of night and day, we talk about a 24-hour period, which is one thing, and then we separate it into two, and we say there is the one side which is day, the other side that is night. And this is true of every single thing that we can talk about or we see in the world around us. So Yin-Yang theory, which is the basis of the five elements, tells us that there are two sides to everything, that these two sides are moving away from each other, but also are compelled to come back together, and this is the basic movement of life. So then we look at the human body, and that we see that this same kind of movement happens in everything that keeps us alive. So the heartbeat, the beating in, the beating out, the blood returning to the heart, the blood leaving the heart. We have the in-breath, the out-breath. We take in food, we excrete waste. So everything that we see in the body is coming from this basic idea of yin-yang. And from this movement, it then produced the color. So if we think about yin-yang as the black and white basis, the foundation of life, we then start to see the five elements come into being. And this is where we see the kind of the abundance and the variety of life coming into being. And this is where we look at the world around us, and we look at the seasons, and we look at nature, and we see that there's a perfect balance of the fire, the sunlight, and the water below, giving life and giving rise to the trees and the wood and everything that we see growing. And then we see how that then in turn creates the fire, it keeps the fire burning, and how the ash of the fire creates the earth, and so on. So we see that all these different forms have a very close relationship to each other. And then we look at human beings and we say, okay, so how does this balance of five elements manifest in that person? Do they manifest, or do they exhibit the same natural laws that we see in nature that maintain someone's health and enable them to be the person that they are?